Hi, this is Calvin Cox. It is Thursday morning at 4:16 a.m. and it's October 10th. October 10th, 2013. And I did a little research at the library last night. What I'm going to talk about here it's a huge issue. It's a social issue, and as far as I'm concerned, it's a social disease that needs to be solved. And but this also ties into something else. So it's really two things I'm going to be talking. Well, three things. And what this is, the Montgomery County Council around the end of August 2013, August this year, began a program to encourage the general public. They were putting things up in the buses where you could read them, and on the outside of buses, encourage the general public to stop giving homeless persons any money and instead only give money to the agencies tasked with the job of caring for the homeless. I would like to request that the Montgomery County Council would shelve the idea of stopping people from receiving any money. They just have no idea what they're asking. I lived on the street for 9 full years, and what they are asking is ridiculous. And it should not be followed. People need to continue to give out a few dollars here and there to these people. And the reason is, if you just think a little bit, if you're in such poor ass condition, you got to go out and stand on the corner and beg. Believe me, there's a reason for that, and those people do need those few dollars. They really do. And there's a lot more people that are going to end up being on the street if the economy in this country continues the way it has been doing the last 5 years, since 2008. And people who have the haves of society should not hold all the strings, all the controls so tightly they can just request the public to do this and everybody will do it, and then those people who just need a few dollars, they can't get anything. I think that's ridiculous. It's unfair. And there is a lot of reasons. Like I said, I myself lived on the street for 9 full years. I've lived in the cold weather shelters and around them, and I do know what I'm talking about. And I wish they would stop that. But the most grievous thing is that they requested the public at the end of August. They started this advertising campaign to stop, hopefully to stop the general public from giving homeless people and panhandlers any money. And then they turn around. It was in the paper it was a week or two later, it came out that the Montgomery County Council was in the process of voting themselves like a 17% pay increase. They're already receiving, over $100,000 a year, which means that with one little swipe of the hand, they would get a pay raise of over $17,000 a year. That's a huge pay raise. And they're already being, as far as I'm concerned, paid well. And so I just don't get this. Somebody who has nothing, take what little change they're going to get, while turn around on the other hand voting yourself over a $17,000 pay raise. That astounds me. What I would do is quit picking on people who have nothing, and also do not vote yourself a pay raise. We're in very hard economic times in this country. No government official deserves to be receiving any pay raise. Okay, at this point in time, it's not a good idea. It's very unfair. and it smacks of favoritism. And the people who are looking into this pay raise are, first of all, a panel that was picked by the Montgomery County Council themselves. That's ridiculous. Another thing is, if you're thinking about a pay raise, put it for a vote to the general public in a couple of years and see what they say. I personally would vote no. If you're earning $100,000 a year, that's pretty good. And I do believe they are earning currently just over $100,000 anyway. Instead, what I would suggest, something is very unusual for would be for Ike Leggett to try to find a way to solve the homeless issue. Instead of them looking into giving themselves a pay raise, it would be nice if one of them would actually try to understand the homeless issue by actually living as a homeless person for a while. And then, because the Montgomery County Council members they're very educated people. They interface with the business community, and they're very aware of government and how government functions and how contracts are done, and how the money is allotted in Montgomery County, how the taxes are collected, and how a lot of the law operates. And so they are educated people. In a way, I don't blame them trying to get more money for themselves. It's just, in these hard economic times, it's not the thing to do. And Ike Leggett, I understand he's been the leader of the Montgomery County Council for many years, and a very qualified man. Now think about it. If Ike Leggett set out in his mind, I'm going to solve the homelessness issue, and it can be solved, but there's things about it I can't see. I'm not educated like Mr. Leggett is. I don't have the experience working at different levels of government to try and solve homelessness. Someone like Ike Leggett, if he put his mind to it, he's got a much better chance for different reasons to solve it than someone like me would have a chance to solve it. Because if there were certain things about it, if he went and analyzed the homeless situation, which you can never do unless you're actually living as a homeless person. It's impossible. You can't see everything from the eyes of the actual homeless person until you are homeless. And when you are homeless, it's horrid. It's unbelievable. The things you have to go through every day, it's phenomenal. I don't know how people actually deal with homelessness at all. But if I could see his way to live as a homeless person for a while, then him having the experience he has, when he would get done with living as a homeless person, and could come back to the Montgomery County Council, he could have a much better chance of solving homelessness and applying real life useful solutions to a huge social problem. It's a horrid stain on the American way of life. Excuse me. But Ike Leggett could never gather the information as being a homeless person unless he went to be a homeless person himself. I know this to be true, because when I ended up being I'd always wondered about homelessness, and when I actually ended up falling into homelessness, it was such an eye-opener. It was overwhelming, and especially around the shelters that take care of the homeless people. That's incredibly eye-opening also. And but if Ike Leggett were to ever do such a thing, he would have to go as someone who was anonymous, because you don't want somebody's notoriety. Oh, well, he was, Montgomery County Council. He's going to get treated differently if he were to ever go try to live as a homeless person, simply because who he is. I mean, if he were to do something like that, he would have to, change up his look a little bit, grow a beard, whatever. He would need to take a notebook with him and write in a journal every day and every 6 months. So he would need to go for like 2 years, and every 6 months someone would need to come to him, gather his journal, give him another one, and somehow he would also need to be estranged from his family. It's too easy if somebody goes to live as a homeless person, if during the day you could slide out and go over to a friend's house and visit for a while, and it's not really what you experience as being homeless. The isolation, you can't really understand it until you actually understand isolation, because you live it every day, 24 hours a day. I don't know, it's very difficult. Ike would have to go perhaps to another city and insert himself as a homeless person. But the homelessness issue is very big, and I'm doing a really poor job of presenting what I was thinking about right now. And I might have to come back and re-record this later before I post it on YouTube. But let me see how much time I have. I'm not doing this recording justice. For some reason I was suffering a massive block in my speaking here. Yeah, it's something about human nature to put down, homeless people. And it's really not justified. Anybody can fall into the homelessness trap. There are people who have addictions there, people who suffer from alcoholism, and there are some people who do suffer from mental illness. And so I went by the library and I said, well, let me do a little research and see, how you compare, how if a lot of the things people who live in homes say against homeless people, if they're justified or if they're fair. And because homeless people get called a lot of names. Let me see, and a lot of put downs they suffer, like, oh, they're mentally ill, oh, oh, they suffer, don't you know they suffer mental illness, and that's one of the ones I had someone come up to me say that, don't you know they suffer from mental illness? Which is not fair that someone would say that. They're drug addicts, that's another put down. They're useless, They're bums, people, that's another thing. They're alcoholics, they're lazy. I mean, they smell bad. Any other clothes look horrid. Oh, they're always carrying around these strollers with them. God, they're so pathetic looking. I mean, all these put downs. We live in a country that's like this, Christian nation, and we're supposed to be, sensitive, and we go to church on Saturday or Sunday, and all these things. But when you listen to people, and a lot of people, I'm not going to say all people are this way, because some people are very loving and caring and sensitive about other people's condition in this life, and especially people who live on the street. But I'm talking about the other people who apparently have no sensitivity towards anyone but themselves. And it's just, to hear some of the things they say, it's really cruel. It's beyond cruel. So let's take the first one, where this put down, oh, they're all mentally ill, don't you know that? There are fewer mentally ill homeless people than there are ones who live in houses, okay? So please, quit picking on homeless people. Put it in perspective. I went and I looked, I typed in the question and into Google, percentage of USA citizens who suffer from mental illness, and it says 1 in 4 Americans, that's like 25% of American ages 18 and older, suffer from a diagnosable mental disorder in a given year. Meaning, once a year, somebody's suffering from a mental problem. 1 in 4, okay, of age 18 and older. That's a huge number, man. That's like 50 million people, okay? So how is it you can do the put down on homeless people? Oh, they all suffer from mental illness. When I went and I typed in, how many homeless persons are there in the USA? It says 633,000 people that are homeless. Compare that to the 50 million. So how can you say, do your little put down on homeless people when they're all mentally ill, when there's way more mentally ill people that live in houses? Why don't you quit picking on somebody who has nothing? Go take a look in the mirror and pick on your own damn self for once, okay? You haven't lived as a homeless person. You have no goddamn idea what it is like, and it sucks. It is so fucked up, it's unbelievable. And the other problem is, there ain't any fucking jobs left in this country for somebody to lift themselves up off the street, if they even wanted to. You get beaten down so bad by that shit, you can't imagine what it's like psychologically to go through it once you're there. It's once you're there, man, you want to totally quit. You want to just go grab a rope and throw it over a tree limb and kill yourself. It's like there's no fucking point to anything anymore. And then you got a lot of goddamn nerve throwing your fucking judgment on everybody, asshole. Get off your shit. Okay. There are drug addicts. Okay, so I went to Google and I looked this one up. I punched in, how many drug addicts are there in the United States? It came back 12.5 million users and 3.6 million addicts. Okay, again, there's only 633,000 homeless people in the United States. That's what Google says. But there's 3.6 million addicts. Which means, if you're thinking about what I'm telling you, there's a hell of a lot more drug addicts live in houses than there are homeless people. So quit picking on homeless people, motherfucker. You're wrong on that point also. They are useless. No, they're not useless. There's a lot of very interesting homeless people if you bother to talk to them, so they're not isolated all the time. The only other people I have to talk to are other homeless people. They're bums. No, they're not bums. Okay? They're in a bad situation. Leave them alone on that too. They are alcoholics. Okay, so there's a few of them drink a little bit. But 15% of USA citizens are problem drinkers. Which means there's like 25 million USA citizens at least, are problem drinkers. So again, there's way more alcoholics who live in homes than there are homeless people who are alcoholics. So leave them alone on that point too. They are lazy. Okay, if they had a job, they wouldn't be lazy, they'd be going to work, but there's no jobs. You know, I shouldn't have done this when I first got up in the morning. I was thinking so clear on this thing, and I had it laid out like, man, I was gonna, you know, hoping Ike would be man enough for somebody to stand up and try and help get this problem solved, because it ain't that solvable. You really gotta have, anyway. I'm gonna have to record this again. Fuck. This is fucked.